So we chose Your Castle Real Estate as our brokerage because when we started the team, it was how do we have a foundation with a larger company that provides the tools, the resources, the market knowledge to be able to go serve on a larger capacity. But one of the greatest things is that we do have the flexibility and the autonomy, and that's really what I love most about Your Castle is that we do have, as a small elite group of agents, we have the agility and the mobility to do what we need with the backing and the support of a larger company. So that was, it was a no-brainer. So I got into real estate actually right after I bought my first house. My kind of experience was pretty unique. I was super excited to buy my first home, and a close friend of mine that I'd known from some previous occupations helped me out and said, hey, let's go buy a house, and it was an amazing experience. Had just the most amount of education I could have imagined, but what happened is I actually, 2 weeks after I bought my house, I lost my job, which is kind of that like terrifying experience that I know so many buyers have. It's like, what if I did lose my job after I bought my house? And well, that's exactly where I was, which was pretty terrifying, but it was actually a really exciting experience because of how well the home purchase went. I actually had a lot more money in my pocket than I should have because we were able to negotiate some concessions and so forth. But so I was able to take 30 days off, and I called it my 30 days of nothing, and I didn't do anything job related for 30 days, and at the end of that I decided I just really taken some time to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, and real estate is what I fell into, simply because if it wasn't for that opportunity of buying the house, I wouldn't have been able to take the time off and have that comfort in losing my job, because it should have been terrifying, but it thankfully wasn't. Yeah, so my first buying experience was actually one of my most memorable. It was a client by the name of Dario. We were sitting down and we talked on the phone. I made a phone call to him and somehow convinced him to come into the office to meet me. But we were sitting down talking, and he'd mentioned that he was adopted, and that was actually he had a very similar story that I had, and I'd gotten into real estate thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to share my story, and so many people told me that wasn't going to be the case. And so of course the very first time I sit down with somebody, we're sitting there crying over the table, literally like in tears, talking about how we were both adopted and just our stories. And we became friends instantly at that point. And so I realized immediately real estate was not about houses, right? It was about the relationships that you have with each other. And so it was a pretty incredible experience. I'd like to sit here and say, oh, it's the ability to negotiate or do all these crazy things. I think some people, they're like, oh, I want the super professional, pristine. I try to dress up every day, but really it isn't any of that. Our vision is really to create opportunities for people that are going to last for generations, and I believe you do that through really understanding and listening to someone. You'll hear a lot of real estate agents say, oh, my client's crazy, or I have a crazy seller, or this person's doing that, and it's really not. I think where we come in different is that we understand that every single person does something or acts a certain way because of something that's going on in their life, or because of a feeling or an emotion that was elicited through something. So if I'm a crazy buyer, it's not that I'm crazy, it's that I'm nervous or I'm worried or I'm scared about something, and so I'm acting that way because of it. And so just understanding that there is no such thing as a wrong feeling when you're buying or selling, because it's a stressful experience, and understanding that, I think, is truly what does set us apart. It's funny because I've been told by my fiance and many other people that I need a hobby. Work is unfortunately my hobby, but for me it's not unfortunate. I love what I do, and I love real estate, and I geek out until 2 in the morning, whether it's market data or houses. It's incredible. But I like to ski and snowboard. That's probably the one thing I like to do outside of just spending time with my family and my loved ones. So. Look, the greatest part about real estate is, especially in Colorado, is I don't have to sell anything, right? My job is not to sell this house. The only sale that you do in real estate as an agent is making sure that my client, right, when we submit that offer to the listing agent, is the only sale that I make is to that listing agent on how badass, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but how awesome my client is, right, to go buy that house. Great credit, amazing down payment, gonna close the deal. That's the only sale that I have to do. So fortunately, I don't have to sell this house, okay, because it's gonna sell itself, right? My job is to just be right here to support my client, be an educator, be a good negotiator when it comes to terms and conditions, whether on the listing side or the buyer side. So thankfully I don't have to sell houses. I just have to create relationships and go sell the other agent.